Hello dear listener, please subscribe to our channel. Enjoy watching. You ever have that feeling, like something's not quite right, but you can't put your finger on it? You know something's off, but it's so subtle that you convince yourself you're imagining it? That was me. 4 months. Maybe longer. I just didn't know it at the time. You're probably thinking, what happened, man? What's the story? Alright, I'll tell you. Buckle up, because this is going to get messy. You might want to grab a drink too, because I'm not holding back. It all started with a text message. Nothing big, right? I mean, everybody texts now. But this one was different. It was late, around midnight, and I was just about to crash when my phone buzzed. I checked it. It was from Emma. My wife. I thought it was her usual good night, love you, but instead, I saw something that made my stomach twist. Can't wait to see you tonight, babe. It wasn't just the text itself. It was the fact that it was too late for her to be sending it to me. I was right there, next to her in bed. She'd been out earlier that day, said she was meeting some colleagues, but I didn't know who. I didn't think much of it at the time. But now, with the text, things started to click. And the more I thought about it, the worse it got. I turned to her, tried to act casual. Who's babe, Em? She looked at me for a second, then quickly snatched the phone away, saying she was just messaging a friend. A friend, huh? My gut told me something was off. But I didn't make a scene. Not yet. I mean, I wasn't one of those paranoid guys. I trusted her. I really did. But there was that creeping feeling in the back of my mind, like a shadow you can't shake off. That night, I couldn't sleep. And I didn't want to, honestly. I couldn't get the image of that message out of my head. So I did what any guy would do when his trust is on the line. I started digging. I wasn't about to confront her straight away. Nah, I'm not that stupid. I had to know more. I started snooping through her things. The usual stuff, her phone, her computer, anything I could find. Not that I'd never done it before, but this felt different. This felt like I was looking for a reason to catch her. And guess what? I found it. A couple of emails. Sent at odd hours. Flirty, suggestive stuff. Nothing overt, nothing that would scream cheating, but it was there, buried under the surface. Just little hints. Little clues. My heart sank, but I kept my cool. I had to. Over the next week, I played it cool. Acted like nothing was wrong. We went out for dinner like we always did, joked around, and talked about random stuff. But in the back of my head, I was constructing my plan. I needed to make sure before I did anything rash. You know what I'm talking about, right? You've got to be smart about these things. Sometimes, the most dangerous thing you can do is act on impulse. So, I waited. 2 days later, she left for one of those business trips she had started taking more often. It was the perfect setup. I knew she wouldn't be back until late. So, I did what any guy who's been cheated on would do, I tracked her. Not in some creepy, over-the-top way. No, I didn't want her to catch on. I wasn't some amateur. I called in a favor from a buddy of mine, one of those tech guys who can get into anything. I had him hack her email and phone. And boom. There it was. Her lover. I didn't recognize the name at first, but I didn't care. What mattered was the who, not the what. The emails were all there, plain as day. The late-night calls, the meetings at hotels, the I miss yous and the I can't wait to be with you again messages. You could feel the chemistry between them in every word. My stomach twisted. Not from the jealousy, but from the disgust. You ever feel so betrayed that it makes you want to break something? But I wasn't going to lose my cool. I wasn't going to let this asshole win. I had a plan. And here's where things get interesting. I decided to take my revenge in a way that would make both of them regret the day they ever thought they could get away with it. I didn't want to ruin them right away. No, I wanted them to think they were safe. comfortable, happy. And while they were basking in that false sense of security, I'd be quietly pulling all the strings. I started by hacking into their bank accounts. Both of them. Emma had no idea that I had set up a secret monitoring system for every transaction. I knew when she bought a latte, when she paid her bills, when she transferred money. I even started redirecting her paycheck into a separate account I'd opened under a fake name. She wouldn't notice, not for a while. But I didn't stop there. Emma's lover, let's call him Mark, thought he could play the big shot. Well, I played him too. I started sending anonymous tips to his business partners about some shady dealings I had discovered in his financial reports. I made sure they knew he was embezzling money, cooking the books, whatever I could plant in their heads. Within a week, they'd caught wind of it, and Mark was in deep shit. Now, Emma had no idea I was onto them. She thought I was just some clueless guy who was too trusting. Every time she came home, I'd act like everything was normal. I didn't confront her. I didn't shout or make a scene. I just smiled and played the role of the faithful husband. But, like I said, I had already set my plan into motion. The more I watched her squirm, the more I relished it. She didn't know how much control I had over her life. Every text she sent to Mark, I saw it. Every time she thought she was being clever, I was already 2 steps ahead. Then, the real kicker came one night. After a long day, she came home and found everything gone. Our house was empty. Every piece of furniture. Every possession. All of it was gone. All that was left was a note from me. I thought you wanted space, Em. You're free to go. It was perfect. She stood there, looking at the emptiness of the place. Her eyes went wide, then filled with panic. She grabbed her phone and called me. But I didn't pick up. Not yet. She left me a message, begging for me to come back, to talk, to fix things. She thought I was angry, that I'd just left her in the heat of the moment. But I didn't say a word. I didn't even respond. It was her turn to feel powerless. And I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of hearing me beg. And then it was Mark's turn. I didn't just want to ruin his business. I wanted him to understand the full scope of his mistake. I made sure he lost his job. I made sure his reputation was in tatters. I made sure everyone he knew what kind of man he really was. But the best part? I made sure he didn't have any way out of it. By the time Emma came crawling back, hoping for forgiveness, she realized it was too late. But here's the twist. You know that thing about revenge? The thing that makes it so sweet? It's when they think they've won, when they think they've gotten away with it. Emma thought I was done. That she could come back, apologize, and I'd just fold. But I hadn't finished yet. You see, there was one more step in my plan, one that I hadn't told anyone about, not even you. When she showed up at my doorstep, all tearful and desperate, I didn't give her a second chance. No, I took everything, her money, her possessions, her future. She was left with nothing, no man, no career, no life to call her own. And Mark? He was left with nothing but his reputation in shambles, his wealth wiped out, and a life full of people who knew what kind of scumbag he really was. And me? Well, I didn't need anything from them anymore. I didn't need revenge anymore. I just needed my peace. Emma and Mark? They'll never forget what happened. Because when you think you can betray someone without consequences, that's when you're really in trouble. And that, my friend, is how you get your revenge. Quietly. Patiently. But with perfect precision. Let them think they've won. Then, when they least expect it, drop the hammer. If you leave a comment, tell us what you think about the story you heard. It's important to us and will help us find and tell stories that you find interesting. Thank you for watching us.